Hey guys, Constance here at A Good Life Farm. So I have been having several of you asking me questions about something that you see here in my homestead kitchen, and that is about the unusual knives. Now I have a couple different knives that I use here. I've got like my handy dandy paring knife. It's actually a no brand knife that I bought when we lived in Germany for about a Deutschmark, which back then was about 50 cents, I think, if I remember correctly. Very inexpensive. It's a great knife though. It is strong, it is sharp and durable, and I wish I had bought more of them. Actually, I did have two of them, but I think one of them vanished to a tackle box, never to be seen again. Yes, so I had two of them, but so there's the paring knife, and then I have my typical chef's knife, which is actually a Pampered Chef knife that I bought over a decade ago, and I believe it was like a Santoku style knife. I don't know if Pampered Chef actually still has that knife or not, but that is my go-to knife for a lot of things. And then I have two knives that are ones that you don't often see in a typical kitchen. And the first one is this. This one is called a Mezzaluna, and as you can see, it's got kind of a crescent-shaped blade, and it has two handles, and it actually has two blades. If you look here, you can see there's two blades down in there that are parallel to one another. And the purpose for a Mezzaluna knife is for very finely mincing things. I will use this often when I am mincing herbs. If I need something really chopped fine, like some rosemary from the garden or something along that lines, I will use this because that double blade gives you double the cutting action, and the two handles allows for you to rock it back and forth on your cutting board very quickly, so it makes fast work of mincing up things. This particular knife I purchased at, let me think a moment, Williams-Sonoma. I bought that at the Williams-Sonoma in Huntsville, Alabama, at one of the malls that they have there. And if I remember correctly, because I've had this knife for several years now, I think I paid about $30 for it, which depending upon how you look at it, that might be expensive or that might be inexpensive. I will say this, when it comes to knives or other tools that you have for your kitchen, often, not always, but often you get what you pay for. I would much rather spend a little bit extra, have a good quality knife or tool that is going to hold up to a lot of use, as opposed to going the more inexpensive route, my paring knife from Germany aside, and having something that is cheaper that isn't going to hold up, especially when it comes to knives. If you have a cheaper knife, often the blade will not hold the edge as long. It will get dull quicker, it'll need to be sharpened more often, and sometimes they just don't sharpen very well if it's a cheap blade, because it's the quality of the metal that goes into making that really matters. And so personally, I would rather spend the money and have one knife that might last me a lifetime, as opposed to going the cheap route and having to buy knives over and over again, because in the end that does not save you any money. So the other knife that people have wondered about, I actually have two of, and that is these right here. Now these knives have a little bit of a story behind them. These are actually called ulus. And ulus are a knife that is used by native Alaskans. And I'm sure there's more than one tribe that uses these, so I'm just going to use the generic native Alaskan term. These are an excellent all-purpose knife. They can be used for chopping, they can be used for flaying, butchering, and I have used these for just about everything over the years. Now this one here, as you can see on the handle, it has a little bit of an engraving there. It says the Alaska Bowl Company. This one is a souvenir grade one, and it actually came with this cutting board. And if you look at the cutting board, you can see it has a concave circle here, and it has a slit on the side, and that is for holding the knife. So you can just leave it on display like that if you want, on your countertop or what have you, or simply set it there while you are doing whatever it is you're doing. Now the knife itself, this ulu, I don't use very often. The handle is just inexpensive wood. I'm thinking maybe it's birch. It just doesn't feel as durable as my other one. However, the bowl, as you can see, it's very dark here in the center, and that is from the use. I do use this cutting board quite a bit. Basically anytime I use my ulu, especially if I'm chopping nuts, because the great thing about this cutting board is it holds the food that you're chopping pretty much right here in the center because of the curvature of the wood. And so when I'm taking my ulu and it just rocks back and forth, unlike a flat cutting board where you have to keep gathering the food back up, this kind of holds it in one spot. I mean, you do have to a little bit, but not as much. Now this is the ulu that I use quite a bit, and as you can see, it has a different type of wood. I believe it was a walnut. I can't remember exactly, but I'm fairly certain that's what that was. It also has the curved blade, and it has a stand that came with it, and it usually sits on my shelf over here by the kitchen window. This one cost a little bit of money. It wasn't exorbitant, but I purchased this before leaving Alaska because I really wanted to have one of these. I love the look of them. They're unique. You don't see them in every kitchen, and it's kind of the perfect takeaway from our living up there in Alaska. We absolutely loved it up there. We almost retired up there, and for a number of reasons we chose not to, but it will forever hold a piece of my heart up there in the snow, as I always say. So as I said, ulus are knives that are used by Native Alaskans. And if you watch any of those living in Alaska types of TV shows, there was one family in particular who lived out in the middle of nowhere. And that's saying something for Alaska, because most of Alaska is the middle of nowhere, but they were way out, nowhere in the village. They were out in the wilderness, and the lady was Native Alaskan. And there was a particular episode where they had gone, I believe it was salmon fishing, and in that episode you could see her harvesting the salmon and preparing it using an ulu. Now ulus actually have a little bit of folklore that go with them. There is an old belief or an old custom that when a grandmother or mother passes her ulu down to her daughter or granddaughter, that she is also passing down her cooking knowledge and her skills to the next generation by passing the ulu down. And so I just thought that was a pretty neat little story. I mean, I'm not superstitious or anything like that, but I love the history and the tradition that goes behind the ulus, especially since I do have such a love for cooking and all of that, and I have a love of heirlooms. So that is the story behind my ulu and my Mezzaluna, the unusual knives you see here in my kitchen. Now if you are interested in getting an ulu, as I said, the Mezzaluna, you can get that at places like Williams-Sonoma or other kitchen supply stores, but the ulus are a little more hard to find. So as I said earlier, this particular ulu and the cutting board are kind of souvenir grade. They were a gift to me from friends as we were about to leave Alaska. It was something to remember Alaska by, like I could ever forget it. But this was, again, souvenir grade. However, this company, the Great Alaskan Bowl Company, they also have a variety of other ulus that are a much more heirloom quality, ones that have gorgeous moose antler handles. So if this is something that you are interested, I will put the link down below for that shop. This isn't sponsored or anything like that, but if you are wanting to get an ulu, that would be, I think, a great place to to start looking. So I hope that answers your questions about my unusual knives and what they are and where they came from. Again, my name is Constance and this is Good Life Farm. I am a blogger at cosmopolitancornbread.com, and you can find hundreds of recipes and articles over there. Additionally, I have this YouTube channel where I do 3 videos a week on homesteading, home cooking, and back to basics. If you are new to my channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit that bell for notifications whenever there's something new. And of course, share this video with others if you feel so inclined. So thanks for watching, you guys, and I will talk to you all again next time.